and thank you for joining us on OverHERD at Career Education. OverHERD at Career Education is a new twice-monthly outreach from the Office of Career Education. Today I have with me Kristin Sims from my office. You want to say hello, Kristin?
Hello, people.
Thank you. And we have a topic today that was actually Kristin's idea, so I want to be sure to give her full credit for that. But we want to talk about self-esteem and matters like that, because it's come to my attention, and after so many years of working here, sometimes not everyone operates at the highest level of self-esteem, which is unfortunate. So we want to talk about maybe some reasons that might be, some things to keep in mind, and of course, since we're career education, what does this mean for career, academic, professional, and other goals that you might have? So I'm gonna, in the spirit of it being her idea, I'm gonna kind of hand things over to Kristin at this point. I'm gonna be probably uncharacteristically quiet. I'm probably gonna jump in a little bit, and I'm just really eager to see where discussion goes. So what's on your mind, Kristin?
Well, I noticed during, the different interactions that I've had with people, especially like during COVID times, because it seems like we're desperate for interaction now. And it also kind of seems like people are willing to talk to strangers more. Like I'm meeting people in line more often now, which is strange because I'm only in line like at the grocery store and we're, distanced.
Yeah.
But people still want to chat and they will really, really want to talk. And one of the things that kind of has come up, like, that I've noticed a common denominator is that people don't realize, I don't know, how special they are or how nice they are, or just complimenting someone and telling them, like, I like your glasses, or, I like your shoes, or whatever, in passing makes a difference to someone. And you can tell that they're smiling even with the mask on.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I mean, it's I'm noticing it. Like, we had some plumbing issues at home, and the plumber talked for a long time about unrelated issues, just his personal life, because he really wanted to talk with someone. And I've noticed that it kind of seems like people don't realize that they have things worth talking about. Like they have real skills or real attributes that are great. People want to be around you. People want to talk with you. So when I was thinking about it and I talked with you about, I think that the problem in the world, we're going to solve the world's problem, is self-esteem.
So yeah, absolutely. I think you've touched on something really great there. And of course, I've been in higher. I'm going on 12 years in higher ed. I've been at Marshall. Monday is my 5-year anniversary. I always joke that it's the longest relationship I've ever had.
Well,
my
happy
relationship with Marshall. Thank you. It's maybe I'll take myself out to dinner.
I was going to say,
know.
You should.
I should. But yeah, I notice especially with students, sometimes you can tell students at times can be overconfident, but I think more often than not, probably for every overconfident student I see a handful of ones who might be lacking confidence in some area. And I know you've not been here quite as long as I have at Marshall University, but at the same time you have a wealth of career, I think, and life experience too. I mean, I know you're raising children. You, like I said, just from working in various places. So particularly speaking, maybe to students and younger people, what are some trends you've seen with maybe self-esteem, or do you have anything noteworthy, anything that's jumped out at you? Or?
Well, yeah, I was getting there, sir. I was just getting warmed up.
If I'm jumping out of cue
I know he
here,
said
I'm
he wasn't
sorry.
going to talk. Look at him. Okay,
You called me out. Okay.
So, but I was getting there to say that the students that I've met and the appointments that I've had, meeting with people on campus, they just are surprised when I tell them that I am impressed with them. I'm impressed with something on their resume. I'm impressed with the fact that they are working and going to school. They say, should I put this job? Like we had the podcast episode a while back about maybe entry-level jobs or jobs that are unrelated to your major and the benefits of them. And a lot of people think that they are unimportant and don't matter, so they shouldn't be put on their resume. But when I talk about how impressive it is to me to see them actively keeping their grades up, supporting themselves at the same time, they just get this kind of smile or glow about them, like, wow, nobody's told me that before. And maybe no one has. So that is that self-esteem.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. I'm kind of sitting here reflecting on it and kind of thinking of my my own life, because I guess by and large I was pretty lucky and having great parents and then going to good schools and things like that. And I was telling someone fairly recently, it used to be, this was not without exception, but when I was growing up, of course, this was in the 90s. I grew up, my family's all Maryland people, but I grew up in Berkeley County, right, much like it is here. You cross the river and you're in a different state. And I think grew up in a pretty decent area. And you could presume that most kids in the school, easily 80% or more, came from what I would consider to be a decent home. At minimum, basic needs were met. I'm sure there's a variance within that. Mm-hmm. But I feel like anymore, we can't with students. We can't assume the students have always had affirmation at home. We can't assume the students have always been encouraged, that people believe in them, that they have a support system and things like that. And I think it's something we have to be aware of for a plethora of reasons. I think professionally because it's our job, but also how do we interact with people, what the power of our words. And I think you're touching on that. And speaking of words, I'm using too many after I said I wouldn't. So what are some thoughts you have on that?
Well, I agree with everything that you said, and I think that it's important as a human being, as a person, to actively work towards increasing your self-esteem on your own, like finding ways to do that. And I have some methods that we can discuss in just a second about that.
Cool.
But also, like you said, it's our job as members of society to build each other up, I think. It doesn't hurt to speak nicely or kindly to someone, even if you're having a bad day or a rough day or whatever, just to help them get by. Mm-hmm. And even being nice to someone, like, that makes my self-esteem go up. I don't know why. I wonder why that is, because I'm not that friendly. I don't know. Well, what do you think about that?
I've learned to live with you in the last year. I'm just kidding. No, I think you're very friendly. I'm just kidding.
It's a front. That's what I'm saying. I'm good at it.
Oh, my goodness.
But it does improve my self-esteem. How do you improve your self-esteem?
How do I improve my self-esteem? I really like the things you said, and I think there's some truth in that too. When we treat people, I think better when we have positive interactions. Mm-hmm. So I think most of us, whether we want to admit it or not, I think we long for those positive connections, those positive experiences, good relationships with other people, and if they've been lacking for some reason in our lives, one of the ways that can show up, I believe, is through lower self-esteem, at least maybe in regards to those interactions. And I think some people have defense mechanisms too. Oh, I hate society. Oh, I hate people. People are the worst. And there might be some who truly feel that way, but I think a lot of times it's easier to kind of resign yourself from the discussion, so to say, than to actually face the facts of what's going on. And it's easier to use a coping mechanism to try to explain something away than to actually take a hard look in the mirror and say, either are there some things about myself I need to change, or maybe I've done everything to the best of my ability and my circumstances have been bad, but what do I do with that information from this point forward?
Right. And like you said, it's tough to look yourself in the mirror and acknowledge maybe I should change some things. And that's a part of the process too. Like, if you have low self-esteem because there are a few things, there's a checklist that I read online. And a few of those things involve like always feeling negative or thinking down on a situation, being constantly, chronically pessimistic, never having a positive outlook on anything. It doesn't matter what it is, like going to class. I'm going to fail this class anyway. Why am I going? Maybe join an organization. They won't want me. People don't like me. Why would they want to hang out with me? So you're kind of setting yourself up to fail in a way because you're not trying with your best intent, your best intentions. So I think that it's important to have a positive outlook, and I'm saying this as a pessimist. So I want the world to know it's true. You can't run from it. You really do have to look at the bright side of things in order to be able to embrace the good things.
You do, and when you see someone who's outgoing, maybe bubbly, smiles, confidence, that is attractive. And in fact, I don't have these stats handy, but even in romantic relationships, I think particularly girls looking at guys, I think, we all know what guys have on their mind, and that's beyond the scope of this pod, because I'm not going to dig into that lest I get sent to HR. But particularly when ladies think about having an attraction to a man, a lot of times that way they carry themselves and that self-confidence can supersede like looks or money or things like that. And the reason I'm mentioning that is not to go too far into dating, because God, I'm the last person you want to talk to about that. but just to say, just the way you carry yourself and having that positivity, the way you treat people, there is an attractiveness about that. And the way you carry yourself, it can make people more inclined to want to be, when I say attracted, you don't mean romantically, I mean just friendship, professionally, or whatever.
Yes.
There's things you can do to attract people, and there's things you can do to repel people.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes a number of us, and I have to watch too, thinking, with negative thought, negative word patterns and things like that, but some of us have chronically maybe toxic ways of approaching that.
Yes.
And can repel people even if that's not our intention.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's a good time to go into some of the ways to improve your self-esteem by putting out some of these positive
Sure, yeah, let's lay on
vibes. Okay. So the first one is reading. I know. Reading.
Interesting.
Starting a book and finishing a book is similar to achieving a goal or successfully completing an academic assignment. So it's a quick self-esteem booster because you start a goal and you end it relatively quickly. Mm-hmm. And I love to read, and I do feel a great fulfillment when I finish a book, but I also feel extreme sadness. But that's weird.
No, I do too. It's almost like a friend has moved away or something when you finish a good book. It's like you've had this companion and now they're no longer there. I feel the same way when I finish a good TV binge, but anyway.
But it does help you kind of get into the head of someone else, so it improves possibly your sympathy, your empathy skills, and like you said, even a good TV show, even though it may be fictional, there's realistic elements to them. So those may be ways that could help you. So that's one. Okay, so I like this one. It's called collecting proof. So this would be anytime that you've done an assignment well, you got great feedback from it, from a professor, or even from high school or middle school even, keep it in a box or a book or somewhere for you to reflect back on as a self-esteem booster. So, did you know I'm a published author?
I did not know that. Tell me more.
See? All right. Well, Miss Bias, shout out to Miss Bias. In first grade, we submitted some poems. So this is first grade. Like I said, this is the 90s. But it's fine. It was more cutthroat then.
Yeah.
Thank you. So my poem was selected, and I'm printed, published in a book, which I have in my room. And sometimes I crack that bad boy open and read my 4 lines of poetry.
I like it.
Published poetry.
That's cool.
Not everyone can say that.
That's true. I've never been published.
See?
So you got me beat.
Self-esteem boost.
It is. And I really like that you mentioned this because I've got a stack of highlighted papers here. I feel like the last time I highlighted this many articles, I was working on term papers for grad school. But anyway, one of the things I was reading about is oftentimes we look to external sources for our validation. And sometimes it could be everything. You and I talked about this a little bit on the way over here. Everything from maybe it is our accomplishments, it could be our appearance, it could be anything about us. And of course, that being said, I really like your technique because oftentimes I think people maybe take a rejection personally, maybe a rejection of an internship, a job, a relationship. But when you think about it, a lot of us have a lot of those things you're talking about. We have had successes. So not to get like a big head or not to try to become like full of ourselves off of that. But at the same time, I mean, even like for instance, if you're at Marshall University and you're listening to this, it's easy to look around and say, oh, well, this person's better looking than me, this person has a better GPA than me, and come up with this laundry list of reasons
they
why.
have more Chick-fil-A money than me.
Exactly. That their car's nicer than mine, their apartment's nicer, and I could go on until midnight.
Their dog's hair is fluffier than mine.
Yes, their dog. My dog growls at me. Their dog's nice. Some of them might be kind of comical. Some might be a little bit more.
But it's real. It's real.
Yeah, it is. So it's easy to kind of make this list. But I mean, even for instance, the fact that you're at college is an accomplishment.
Yes.
The fact you got into maybe your program is an accomplishment.
Yes.
And I think kind of like what you're talking about, reflecting on those accomplishments. I don't think anyone who's going to be an earshot of my voice or anyone who hears this has truly accomplished nothing. So I mean, hats off to you. Let's hear it for the boy. Didn't we talk about that song previously?
We did.
Let's hear it. I keep bringing up 80s songs, but anyway. So even if you're not a Rhodes Scholar or whatever, I mean, I guarantee you have things to be proud of. So don't forget that. Don't forget that. But at the same time, too, I mean, it's not to say you can't look at your life and decide you want to make improvements either. I mean,
that's the next one.
Okay, well, I keep jumping ahead of you. I'm going to turn it back over to you then. I'll let you.
That's great, because you want to keep getting feedback, and that's the next one. And so as you go through, and that might be going to your professor's office hours and inquiring face to face, or when you can, because COVID, or emailing nicely and politely, about ways to help you improve your grade because you really bombed that test and you thought that you understood or whatever. It's just about communication. So getting that allowing the opportunity for someone to give you that feedback is really important. Maybe you have a good friend that will tell you the truth about anything. So maybe set your good friend down and say, hey, let me know where I've gone wrong because I'm struggling right now. And
Definitely.
Be willing to accept that feedback.
Absolutely. And I think getting that feedback and even things like taking inventory of your own life. Like for me, I've looked around. I was like, in the time I've worked at Marshall, I have shirts I could wear in 2016 when I started working here. I can't button those shirts. I need to make some life changes. And I'm doing it for me. I necessarily think I'm going to be on the cover of any stud magazines or anything like that. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm saying.
But yeah, it's for me. It's like, what? For my own health, it's like I got some changes I want to make. And for me, for no one else, I'm doing that. And we should continually seek to do that. But that's not to say that I get my validation from dropping 10 pounds or whatever, or if I don't reach a certain weight or look a certain way or do this or do that. It's not to say I don't have worth if I don't do those things. I mean, they're good goals to have, but don't associate your overall competence, your overall worth with those things.
Yes. Next is framing and preparing. So I believe the kids like to call this getting your mind right, but not maybe the way that they always mean it. The way I mean it is having the right mindset to do something. So the example that I read, which was really interesting, was that every single class that you start in school or wherever, you're starting it with the most amount of points that you can. Technically, you have an A. So why not work to maintain that A in the class instead of thinking you're starting at 0 and you have to increase your grade up to an A? So after this person said that they started changing their framing and mindset and preparing for their classes with that sort of thought process, they got much better grades. And it's really just a psychological switch, a paradigm shift, if you will.
A paradigm.
Oh.
20 cents, right? A paradigm. That was bad.
A paradigm.
But I had to. So.
You can be on the jokesters calendar.
Jokesters calendar. Dad jokes calendar.
Yeah.
But I like what you talk about academic performance too. And I think because I do want to relate this background to academics and career education through the articles I've read in the last couple of days. Again, that's something a lot of students tie their worth to is their GPA. And I'm not doing good in this. I'm too stupid to be in college, or I don't deserve to be here, or I think we had talked about imposter syndrome, or I'm just faking it. All these other brilliant people are here. It's only a matter of time until I get found out. And I know in life I felt like that plenty of times, and this is probably not a satisfying be-all, end-all answer to the matter at hand, but the older you get, the more open, honest conversations you have with people. A lot of people feel like that. It's not just you. A lot of us feel like we're faking it till we make it, as they say. So again, it's a matter of it's good, I think, to put yourself in situations where you may be uncomfortable. It's good to challenge yourself. I mean, if you never live a life where you're challenged, how sad of a life is that?
Yes.
But don't presume that everyone else totally has their act together and that you're just somewhere playing the role of a fraud, just counting down the days till you're exposed. That I think is toxic, and I don't think that's helpful at all.
Yeah, and you're back to putting those bad vibes out, like we were talking about before. And I mean, imposter syndrome, it's a phenomenon that's been researched multiple times. I've read all kinds of articles about it, but I also read some articles that countered the idea. So those are interesting too, because they were essentially saying that you should be able to overcome any obstacle. And if you are feeling that maybe you aren't enough, then you need to find out why. And then that goes back to these things that we're talking about here.
That's
and
good.
It might just be coming down to wake up, acknowledge your skills. I am a published author. Okay? First grade. All right? I can do anything.
Definitely.
Right.
And it makes me think too of something really good I had read in my research yesterday. Is I've kind of already said it, but I'm going to put a different spin on it. Every single one of us has something to offer the world, whether it's our personality, whether we're great with people, whether there's a technical skill that we have. There's something. I think there's a reason, and I got to be careful too. I try not to shove faith down anyone's throat. I am a person of faith, but at the same time, I don't believe in shoving that on people. But even aside from that, even if you don't want to look at it through that lens, I do think each one of us has a purpose. There's a reason we should belong. There's something we have to offer.
Yep.
And trying to find that out I think is a really cool part of our job is being able to help students with that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, when I was a freshman, really probably the whole time I was an undergrad, I was just focused on trying to not flunk classes and just trying to keep my head above water. It's the way I felt.
Me too.
And I did fine, but I think I felt like I was doing a lot worse than I was looking back.
Right.
But when you can move past that and start to think, what's the reason I'm here? What do I have to offer? Because every one of us is needed. Every one of us, there's something unique. There's a unique perspective. I don't want to sound like Mr. Rogers here. I didn't put my cardigan on and put my tennis shoes on before this session. But there is something unique that we can bring to the table, every single one of us. So don't be so quick to discount that. Don't be so quick to say, oh, well, I'm not the most athletic, I'm not the most attractive, I'm not the smartest, all these other people got this stuff covered, I'm just kind of here taking up space. No, don't even let yourself think thoughts like that.
You really can't. And what's also interesting is celebrities aren't the end all be all of anything, but they do have a lot of money. So it's interesting to read or watch their documentaries about how they got to where they are. And almost every comedian especially had a very tough and trying childhood. Can you think of one comedian that was like, I came from a wonderful home and life was great? Because that's almost what made them be funny. They had a reason to be funny.
Right,
And the people, the different singers, they've all gone through lots of hard things in their life. Dolly Parton's life story, good gracious. That woman's been through things. And she's still singing.
Yeah.
So you was like, I can't stop. If Dolly hadn't stopped, I need Kristin would, I guess.
And she's, as a side note, and she's still, for as much as she's done, she's one of the most kind, humble, and just, I think, should be a role model for every single one of us, if for no other reason, just attitude. But yeah, wonderful example. So
all those people had to struggle, really. Not all of them. Some didn't. But we're not talking about those people. We're talking about the ones we like that are successful.
Absolutely.
Well, that goes to our last point, okay? That's my last one. The last thing that you need to do in order to increase your self-esteem is reward yourself. So that means you have to acknowledge that you've done something good, first of all, done something well. So pat yourself on the back for that. And then, there you go. Then you treat yourself. So, how are you going to treat yourself on your anniversary?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I have to think about that. I feel like that night I'm gonna get takeout from someplace, maybe more than I usually. Maybe go. I live right by Texas Roadhouse. Maybe go down the hill and get me a steak and get home, and I don't know.
Watch something on the YouTube, the Netflix.
Exactly, but do it instead of a single guy dinner. Do it with a steak. There you go.
And a candle.
I've had enough candles now.
I was going to say, yeah, we're past that.
Yes, no, I don't want to see a candle for a while. But
yeah.
Nice try, though. I appreciate it.
So I think it is important, every Friday, especially when it's payday, man, I treat myself to something, and it's usually food-related. Just because I can sneak that, my kids won't want to use it or break it or
there you go.
Look at it or touch it because it's gone because I ate it already.
Yeah, there you go. And those little rewards, and it kind of goes back to, I always preach to students, financial literacy, being financially responsible. But at the same time, I was talking with a relative recently, and they used a phrase about someone being the richest person in the graveyard. Don't let that be you either. Take some time, take some money. Again, it can even be an investment of time. You know what? Mental health days are great. Going splurging on that steak, or getting your nails done if that's what you do, or maybe going to an event. I know events are kind of sparse right now, but doing those things to invest back in you, I think, are really great because we're worth it. We need to. What they said was Parks and Rec, treat yourself.
Yes.
Remember Parks and Rec, treat yourself. So you got to treat yourself sometimes.
And I read an article that was published. So this is really interesting about how tattoos improve self-esteem of college students.
Interesting.
I know. isn't it? So treat yourself to a tattoo. It's double the acknowledgement. So self-esteem squared. Eureka.
I like it.
So I think that might be what I do.
Okay. A tattoo. I've never gotten one.
Maybe on my first year martial anniversary, a bison.
Bison. I like it. You should do it.
I'll consider it.
Talk to Chris. Maybe maybe the department can go get matching ones.
Matching ones. See.
I don't know how many people will be on board,
but it would really be a good self-esteem booster for the whole crew.
And bonding, solidarity. Yes. So yeah. Do you have any other thoughts for us? This has been great so far. I've loved everything you shared. Do you have any thoughts or?
No. I mean, I've said all I can say. Okay. Improve your self-esteem because it's detrimental. And it affects your personal lives, your working lives, people, just the way that you work your way through life. Navigate through the life.
That's good. And I'll kind of wrap this up too. I don't want to necessarily prolong this or make it just that much longer than it needs to be. But it was kind of eye-opening for me just doing some of the reading that I had done in the last couple of days on this topic. And just something if you've heard nothing else we've said, just know that you are enough just as you are right now. The things we've said, I think we've talked about a little bit. But it's having goals is wonderful. Setting goals for yourself. I encourage people to be ambitious with goals. If it's something that's easily attainable, is it really a goal? But at the same time,
yes, it is.
Is it?
Yes.
You think so? Yeah. I guess that's fair. There's easy goals, and then there's
because those are the goals that I reach.
Okay.
So leave me alone.
Okay. And sometimes goals are more basic. Sometimes I think having stretch goals is good too, because if you don't push yourself, how do you know
exactly
even what you're capable of? But goals aside, I mean, that as you sit right now, hearing my voice, you are worthy and you are enough. Don't feel that. Don't let anyone ever make you feel not that way. And I want to reemphasize, too, that just a couple other things talking about campus. Any students who hear this, anyone who ever wants to talk, I'm always open to that. I feel, not to sign a blank check for Kristin, but I feel
find me.
that she would be open to that, too. We have another number of other great campus resources.
I'm next door to him.
That's right. So, we are the party side of the house.
Yeah.
But anyway.
You get to me before you get to him, actually, so just stop by my office first. Thanks.
That's true. And plus, with mine's so cluttered anymore anyway, there might not even be. Anyway. But we have a great counseling center here, wellness center. There's a number of great resources on campus. And even if it's a matter of, hey, Denny, I really think I want to access one of those other resources. I'm a bit stumped on how to do it. I'd be happy, even if it's just a matter of helping you navigate that. Because on one hand, I think we've got so many great things here, but on the other hand, it can be sometimes
overwhelming.
It can be. It definitely can be. So it'd be my pleasure to help you navigate that as well. Or like I said, any student who wants to talk. But also, I mean, kind of thinking about careers and opportunities. When we talk about self-esteem, don't ever catch yourself thinking, oh, well, that internship wouldn't want me. I could never do that job. I could, be bold and go after the things that you want. And you might realize in the process something is not for you. I started college as a nursing major, and I never even took a nursing class. My eyes were open to it that this probably is not what I ought to do. And I found higher ed as much as it found me, and I love doing what I do. So even if you start off on a path, even if you don't end up there, I think you still can learn amazing things about yourself along the way. But don't start off with that mindset of lack, that, oh, well, I'll be doing good just to get any job. Forget grad school, they wouldn't want me. I'm not going to apply for that internship. There's no way they'll ever pick me. Be ambitious, go after the things you want. And you may honestly, you're probably not going to get them all, but you need to try. But you'll also learn during those experiences as well. And even rejections or even seemingly things that are ostensibly a setback can help craft you into a stronger person, and definitely be, not to mention I've lived long enough that I've seen job opportunities or something I wanted fall through, and then a year or two later I learned something. I'm like, thank goodness that fell through. That would have been a disaster. So you might think I'm kidding, but I've seen that happen.
The only failure is in not trying, though. I just want to emphasize that, like you said. Because if you don't try, then you really have zero opportunity to succeed. So that is literally the only way you can fail.
I agree.
So just don't fail, people. Always try.
That's right. Always try. And at the same time, too, when we talk about going after those goals, again, just to on one hand, shamelessly plug my department, but on the other hand, talk about the services we have for you. I have not gotten to where I am in life by myself. I know a lot of people have helped me. So, like I said, again, if you want someone to talk to, or if it's like, hey, I found my dream internship, my dream job, but I got to get this resume looked at, come and talk to us, because we can help you be your best you, because that is also important.
Yep.
So, yeah. So I think we're probably in good shape. Do you have any other parting thoughts, Kristin?
No.
I feel like did you hear all the truth bombs dropping during this?
Yeah.
So, well, and I want to thank Kristin for kind of spearheading this effort. This was her idea. I give her all the credit on this, and I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Again, OverHERD at Career Ed is a twice monthly outreach from the Office of Career Ed. I think we're going to be a little bit behind on these because there were one or two that were actually have had to be rescheduled due to the ice storm and lack of power and things like that. So we will be making those up. So I know we've published the dates that we will release podcasts. There may be some slight changes to that, but definitely hang in there with us. The number of podcasts we release will not change. The dates might change a little bit. So just stay tuned for some more great content. And I can't think of anything else. Can you?
Nope. Adios, peeps.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We hope to have you back here next time.
Bye.